button. Which I
think everybody.
And we are live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Betsy Freeman booking panel. Hello. How are you guys doing? So we got a treat for you. Some new faces, some familiar faces. I'm gonna let everybody introduce themselves. Carolyn, tell us about you, where you're calling from. Yeah. Tell us about you. Carolyn?
No, we're not.
Do you hear us, Carolyn? I don't think so.
No.
Okay. Well, we'll come back to you, Carolyn. Christin.
Yes.
Tell us about you, your passion, your art form, where you're calling in from.
Fantastic. Well, my name is Christin Jezak, and I hail from the lovely current city of Burbank. I'm originally a Massachusetts girl, though, who loves her Dunkin' Donuts and will never give that up, as well as the Red Sox. And the Pats, the Patriots, it's long blood. Oh, and we completely lost Carolyn. Okay.
Okay. That's okay. I believe she'll come back.
I believe she'll come back too. This is all about performance anxiety, and this is all a test. We don't feel nervous, and we hope that none of you feel nervous.
Here we go.
Hi, Carolyn's back. Thank God. Yes. So
oh, Carolyn.
I'm so sorry to laugh, Carolyn, but it's too funny. The whole situation is too funny. But we got you, and I see you. So thank God for that.
I'm sorry.
Carolyn, we're losing you. So we're gonna come back to you.
Okay. So anyway,
we're losing you again. So we're just gonna let Christin finish what she was saying, and then we'll come back to you. And
excellent.
Christin has frozen. Christin?
Oh, I'm frozen? No, I just wasn't moving.
Now. You're good now. Okay, so we'll let you finish your introduction, then we'll come right back to you, Carolyn.
I was literally holding. I was like waiting with bated breath of what was going to happen with Carolyn. I do comedy, by the way, for all of you who don't know. So I find all situations funny, including this one right now. God bless Zoom. God bless technology. Here we are. We roll with the punches. That's what performance anxiety is all about, by the way. But yeah, so I like to be on stage. I like to be in front of the camera, TV, film. I like to be behind the camera as well. Well, kind of. It's a lot of work in behind the camera. People don't realize how much work goes on behind the camera. So I have a comedy partner, and I book things, and Unexpected Crowns, if you want to follow us, and that's me in a nutshell. You're going to hear more about me, but that's a good start.
And ladies and gentlemen, like the Unexpected Crowns, it's so beautiful. It's hilarious. You guys need to check into the magic that Christin creates. And Carolyn, are you there? Can you hear us? Okay, great. Can you tell us about you?
I am here. Okay.
Yay.
So this is the story, Glory, everyone. I spent a career as an opera singer, and I got to make my debut at the Metropolitan Opera in 1974, a long time ago. And I had sung a bunch of leading roles and got some American premieres and world premieres and so on. So anyway, that was then. And I also was the chair of the voice department of the Brooklyn Conservatory of Music and taught at the University of Colorado in Boulder, and as an adjunct teacher and so on. I moved here to LA in about 12 years ago.
So,
and
you're freezing again.
I did some cabaret work, which was a lot of fun, and I mixed acting coach. So I helped them with the dramatic part, particularly helping them.
So Carolyn, I don't know if you hear us, but you're freezing and cutting in and cutting out. I don't know if it's your connection. Okay, now you're back.
Yes, I might have to revert to the I was going to say the piano, the phone.
You know, maybe give that a
So,
shot,
I'm
because
still
you have so
frozen.
much beautiful things to say, but you're freezing and cutting in and cutting out. And I think it's tough for the audience to hear what you're saying. So
Okay.
maybe
So
try your phone and we'll see if that's better, reception.
that's what I'd like to do
Thank you.
on the phone.
Okay.
Okay.
So in the meantime, Christin,
Could you
let's start.
introduce yourself?
Oh, yes, I should. Okay. Well,
Yeah,
I
we
am
wanna know
Flo,
you.
and my art practice, art space, whatever you want to call it, my passion is music. I am a pop soul artist, and I'm looking forward to getting new stuff out into the world. And I am calling from the city of Los Angeles, in the Valley. So happy to be here with these amazing creatives, these incredible women. And we're going to have some fun talking about performance anxiety. Are we ever going to have fun? So question number one, let's go right on into it. Okay, so this is going to go to you, Christin. We'll start with you. Do you think performance anxiety helps or hurts the quality of your public performances?
I think it depends, because sometimes when you've got a little bit of a like a little bit of it depends on what your anxiety does. Sometimes your anxiety can move you forward a little bit, like give you that extra like kind of exciting energy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So sometimes, especially coming from a comedy background, sometimes that has actually helped my performance if I've had a little bit of that, like whatever that is. Now, when it's butterflies, or like I'm doing something super dramatic, and the character doesn't require that kind of frantic energy, not so cool. Not so cool. But there, like I said, there are times that you can definitely channel it and use it. And sometimes I think too, as an artist, it's great to be honest with our feelings and to be able to tap into those. So sometimes if you can use the feelings that are happening in the moment, great. But if they're really opposing, that's not so great. So yeah.
Agreed. Carolyn, what are your thoughts? And you let me know if you need me. Would you like me to? That's what I have done on some panels, to reread the question. And for some people who are just joining in, I might as well do that. So Carolyn, do you think performance anxiety helps or hurts the quality of your public performances? Did you hear the question, Carolyn? You know what, I can answer. I'll put in my feedback. So I agree with you, Christin. I think for the most part, depends on how great that anxiety can be. If it's crippling, you know what I mean, to the point where your voice is wavering so much, and your legs and your hands are shaking that you can't play the piano, or that you can't get control of your voice and sing, or that you just can't get yourself on the stage. That's when it can hurt, right? But there are ways to overcome that. There are actually some of the biggest stars, celebrities, whether it be actors or singers, you name it, athletes have, what they say, performance anxiety right before they have to, do that race, you know what I mean? Or right before they have to go up and do comedy or act or sing, but they've been able to overcome it, or they have certain techniques they use to get themselves okay with getting onto that stage in the spotlight. I do think it's a good thing when it's converted into adrenaline, because like most people, the average person whose career involves getting out there, they have those butterflies. And when you're able to just use that and turn that into adrenaline, it just takes your performance like to a whole other like level or height. So if it can be converted and used for your good, like adrenaline, yes. But if it's something that, you struggle with getting under wraps and controlling, then yes, it can. I'm going to be honest. Yes, it can inhibit or infringe your performance. But again, there's tons of techniques and ways to overcome that. So, Carolyn, are you back?
I am on the phone with you all.
Wonderful. Okay, great. So we'd love to get your feedback on this question. Then we'll move to another one.
Yeah.
Do you think performance anxiety helps or hurts the quality of your public performances?
I think it depends on when it comes and how you handle it. Really more how you handle it. Listen, when we're anxious, as far as I'm concerned, everything is dispersed and triggered and spread out. I can't think of the word that starts with D. Anyway, and you talked about getting the what one wants to do to channel it and to get focused on where you want to be and just being in that mood of knowing that you're prepared, knowing that you know your stuff, knowing that if something, if the furniture falls down or something, you can deal with it, and knowing that you are prepared. That's the main thing. And then you go on and you just focus with it. And besides, practically everybody I know if you don't have nerves, I think something's wrong, something's missing, because it's just ginning up the energy for yourself. Okay, so I guess that's about what I have to say about that.
So Carolyn, I'm going to start with you, since you've already warmed up and started the dialogue and had some great things to say. The next question I have for you was, when was the time performance anxiety ruined one of your performances? Ooh, that's a sticky one. I like that though. That's a good question. When was the time performance anxiety ruined one of your performances? I think we all have answers to, as artists, we definitely all have an answer to that one.
I can't seem to put my finger on something. Ruined, I guess, there's a range of ruin. So, I had a performance recently where my mind wasn't focused on the correct things. So I guess you could say that was anxiety, and that didn't work so well. But otherwise, I guess I've been privileged to be able to, I don't know. I can't think of a time really in the various performances that I've done that I could say my anxiety really ruined it. However, I will tell a story about how it could have, because I was in college singing in an opera scene, in an opera from by Monteverdi called L'Incoronazione di Poppea, which is the coronation of Poppea. And here I was walking on stage, starting my scene, and I was Poppea, singing to the goddess Amor, "Oh, please make Nero love me so he'll get rid of his wife and marry me, and then I'll be very powerful, and that'll be really neato." So these were just scenes, so it was accompanied by piano, and some things were organ, just for some texture. So anyway, I was up stage right and walking down to center slowly, and Amor was already preset on the stage, standing above my bed, and she was quiet until it was her time to sing. So anyway, I'm halfway there to my bed where I am to fall asleep, and can people hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. And the entire stage started shaking. And then I realized the entire building was shaking. And then I saw the people in the audience looking around like bobbleheads. What's going on? And this low rumble was going on. And I thought, my God, I'm in Illinois, but there's an earthquake here. And then I thought, oh, I'm dying as an opera singer with my boots on.
Yeah.
I was so paralyzed in a sense that I kept singing.
Whoa.
I kept singing, and I got to the bed and I laid down, and the hurricane, the thing stopped, the earthquake. So, and then Amor started singing. So I got off the stage after the scene. What happened? And it turns out that Amor, as a goddess, was to be accompanied by the organ. And when the organist got on to the organ, was stepping on in advance, somebody had left this electric organ on, and he stepped on the 32-foot pipe kettle. So that's why the whole building was shaking.
Oh my gosh.
crazy. That's a story.
That's insanity. That's such a great story.
That's a story to have. That's a story for all
It is.
time. Oh my gosh. Wow. Wow.
It was an experience.
That's
hilarious.
incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that, Carolyn. Like,
Seriously.
we're
All-
never gonna forget that.
Our viewers are all saying, wow.
Yeah.
I can see
Yeah.
the
Like
comments.
that's epic. That's phenomenal. Wow.
That's why being prepared so that, things just, you've got such a physical memory of it that it just keeps going unless you get literally struck down. Oh, and that reminds me of a lady who was giving a speech, and a cat walked on stage, and without missing a beat, the woman looked at the cat and said, "My dear, this is a monologue, not a catalog."
That's so wonderful. Carolyn, thank you so much for sharing that story and that information. That's so beautiful. Like that's something we'll never forget. And that paints the picture so beautifully. Christin, how about you? When was a time that you felt that or it felt like anxiety ruined one of your performances?
That is really hard to remember. Praise God, I have a gift where I remember I'd have auditions when I was in college and even grad school. And I remember I just felt so much anxiety. And it is really hard, by the way, to do musical theater and sing if you have performance anxiety because of what it does to your body and your vocal cords. And it can feel like a hot mess. So, I remember having auditions where I felt nervous, going in or out of control. And I think the nerves a lot of the times comes out of people pleasing in those kinds of situations where you're auditioning because you want to please them so much. You want to get the role so much that maybe you've got that bit of anxiety. But I remember one of the professors said to me, "You were nervous? I didn't even know you were nervous." So apparently I'm really, really good at masking my feelings. But I think, again, it could be because I do comedy and comedy requires this heightened energy. So I think a lot of the times maybe when I have had anxiety, it's been masked. It feels like it's me probably pushing the moment or being in the moment or riding the comedy wave, where it's really me on the inside saying, "Oh no," but no one knows that I'm screaming, "Oh no," or whatever, Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, the answer for that is I have experienced it, and it's at least what felt like bad performances for me. And the funny thing is we are our own worst critic, and sometimes what we feel is a bad performance still moves the audience, or to them they still think it's it's such a gift, it's amazing. You're thinking what? But it felt what people have described when you get so nervous that's you practice that. For me, in my situation, being an artist doing music, you practice that song till it's perfection on your own. And then once you get out in front of people and you do it and your knee is shaking and your vocal cords get, your voice is shaking, and what comes out, you're like, "Oh my, this is nothing like what I practiced," right? So, there have been those moments, but I think everybody in entertainment experiences moments where what you've practiced due to nerves doesn't end up being exactly the way you want, but it's part of the process. And then you get to that point where you're good. You're good.
Yeah.
You may get the butterflies in your stomach, which is good because it means you care about it. I don't know. I think I saw an interview on Entertainment Tonight. It was either one of the icons like Madonna, Mariah Carey, or Cher. And they had said that it's a bad thing if you stop getting nervous, because they said they still get nervous, and come on, they're legends, right? And they said that nervousness is usually a good thing. The butterflies mean you care about it and you love it enough that you're still nervous, that you want to bring your best, right?
Yeah.
And so hearing them say that, I'm like, butterflies are normal. They're not fun, but they're normal. And they usually get converted into adrenaline, which can just make your performance soar. So in hearing and remembering that, I'm like, okay, this is all good. It's okay. Okay, so next question I have.
We did have a comment from our audience members, because I know that I can see the comments and you guys can't right now, but somebody suggested you can improv your way out of it. That's what Kathleen suggested. And also, which is, I think that's a great suggestion. You can get yourself out of it. And then also Carol, oh gosh, I don't want to butcher her name. Carol Fucillo Kopelman says,
Oh, yeah.
hello. She says hello.
Oh, how nice. How nice. You know, never mind.
No problem.
Well, hello to you all, and thank you for the comments. That's awesome. And I think for some
That's
people,
great.
for example, like Christin, who has the gift of improv, if you are like a comedy actor or just really great on your feet, oh my gosh, then use that gift and improv it out of there. There's some who that may not come naturally to, but if that does, oh my gosh, that's a blessing and a gift. Okay, Christin, next question.
Okay, Flo.
Hi.
I thought of an example, kind of. I was with the Agalo Opera Company down in Sarasota, and I was a young singer, and we were, the singers were asked to do a concert for, I don't know, some of the supporters, I guess. Anyway, so I was standing on the stage singing an aria that I had sung many times. Mi chiamano Mimi from La Bohème, the first act. And so I was singing along, and then I got to a point where I totally blanked. And I was supposed to, the pianist was waiting for me to begin the next section of the music. And I said, well, what's the next line? And he said, la. And I said, la what? And then I said to the audience, I've only sung this 100 times. I can't understand what's going on. And then I continued. So that was embarrassing.
You know what?
But I guess it was nerves.
You know what, though? I think it created like a moment where the audience can connect with you and know that you're human. I was just in a workshop where a music workshop or seminar where they said that one of the attendees said, how do you get over performance nerves? This is what we're talking about right now. And he said, sometimes the best thing to do is to share that vulnerability with the audience. And I've been to shows, so some people are like, I am so nervous, but I'm going to do this. And the audience just applauds them. Or they're like, go, Joe, we're with you. You know what I mean? Right? Or sometimes some moments where some artists have been like, I can't remember this line, but I'm going to keep singing. But people laugh with them. And so that vulnerability makes people connect even more with them, and they create that moment. So I think it's almost like, again, being good on your toes and just like opening up and connecting with the audience. And sometimes they want to know that you're human. You're not some untouchable superhero that never makes mistakes. Like, a lot of people can connect with that, and it creates a moment. So
I have a recording of Judy Garland's Carnegie Hall last recital, and she was singing along, and at one point she kept singing, and she said, and I forgot the gall darn words, and she went on.
Right. If a legend like Judy Garland can do it, then hello, that lets us know we're okay, right? Christin, next question.
Yes.
Why is it that people think public speaking is worse than death? That some people, not all, but some people fear public speaking more than death.
More.
Yeah, they say that it's one of the top fears out there. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, top fear, public speaking.
I think it has to do with our anxiety of what other people are going to think. Because when we don't care what other people think, and that's a real thing. People pleasing in general, outside of even sticking it on a stage and having a people please like an audience of 1,000 or a couple hundred, right? I think that already has a level of anxiety. I think all of us unfortunately struggle with certain layers of that. And honestly, if you can get to a point where you just don't care, I mean, that is the best place to be. Don't care what they're going to think, because that makes the best performances. And I say that also to myself, I think that's part of it. I think it can be just the lack of control, because there is a letting go of control. You don't have control of how you're going to be received. You don't have control over what's really going to go on the stage, especially when it is a live performance. With film and TV, of course, guys, they edit so much of it out. It looks like they're giving these flawless performances, but the truth of the matter is they might have done 10 takes to get to that point, or they might have done maybe 3 takes, but they took part of take number 1, they took part of take number 2, they took part of take number 3, and then put them all together like a puzzle. And then you were like, wow, look at that flawless performance, which is not the case with live theater or live opera or live music. It is what it is. Just like right now, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well said. And it's the same thing with music. The recording studio, you can doctor it up. You could take a splice of this take with a splice of take number 100 or take number 500 and create the most seamlessly perfect, pop song. But the real test is the live performance, right? Yes, you can add tracks and so on and so forth, but when you see an artist who is literally singing, not lip syncing, not, not an auto-tune microphone, but they're literally singing with a live band, that's true talent, right? Because anything can go wrong, right? And that's just right. So that's exactly it. It's you can doctor things up. But Carolyn, what are your thoughts on the question that why is it that some people fear public speaking more than death?
Well, a couple things. I'd like to respond first to what you talked about the recordings. It was so interesting to hear you talk. I really only made one recording, and that was my demo cabaret thing. Anyway, but in the 1950s, when people started, after the World War II, and people really started traveling, and in the 60s too, and people were using planes, opera singers had difficulty because the recordings that they had made were all perfect, and they were getting tired out and stuff like that from the travel and so on. So their live performances weren't as great, and people reacted. So that's too bad. Okay, on to death. Well,
On to death.
death is one of on the list, as Flo mentioned, somebody did, that death is less feared than speaking in public. On one schedule I saw, it was number 5. But I would just like to say that I think that people fear even more singing in public than speaking in public. I don't think it even occurs to them to sing in public, and I mean most regular folks. Anyway, so in the olden days when we were babies, we were people-pleasing because we needed to get fed and our diaper changed, etc. And then when we were a toddler, we danced around and said, "Aren't I wonderful?" And we just thought everything was great, and we were so pleased with ourselves. And then when we got to be 8 or 9, something shifts in our brain, and we're able to move from being totally self-centered to seeing everything from our view to realizing that other people had views upon us. So that's how we kind of got back into the people-pleasing thing. And that's what I wanted to say about that. So what exactly was the question?
Oh, why is it that you think that people fear public speaking more than death?
I had a stepson who was teaching a speech class, and the first day he told me he had each student stand up in front of the audience, did not speak for 30 seconds. And by the time they got to about 25 seconds, they realized they were not going to die. They were going to live through it. And he had every single person do that. So part of it is this whole sense of the spotlight. And part of it is, for crying out loud, our culture and how terribly judgmental we are and so on. And that's only fear of the other people, that they're going to be shown up themselves. And that just, there's a lot of that in life. anyway, so I think that that's why people fear speaking to such a degree. And also, you know, when you're speaking, you say words, you have to put words into a sentence, you want to make things flow, you want to be interesting. There's a whole lot of dynamics in speaking. So if you're, as Mimi Donaldson and Nicole Jensen say, 4 words, it's not about you.
Yeah.
The whole point is presenting your information. And I always say there's nothing better than sharing something good. Okay, I'm going to stop talking now.
This is wonderful. No, thank you. You're really, you know, opening us up and presenting a lot of the psychology, you know, and the wisdom behind that. And I love depth. So this is like just soaking this in. And just because I want to get in so many of these other great questions and get your feedback, we'll skip me and we'll just keep going and digging through. So we'll start with you again, Christin. We'll just go back and forth between you, Christin, and Carolyn. Do you think, Christin, that performance anxiety is visible to others?
I think I already answered that prior, which was basically, like I said, I had a situation where I honestly thought like, oh gosh, everyone saw it, like I had my pants down, but they didn't. You know, my professor told me, he's like, nope. Did I see it? You gave a great performance. I'm like, really? Because it didn't feel good on the inside. But yeah, a lot of the times what you think interiorly is not what you see on the outside. I think one of the worst, wow, I didn't think I was going to like answer further on this, but I think one of the worst things that I've seen, and this has been both when I've been on the camera and when I've been behind the camera, is when an actor judges their work, and instead of just finishing the scene as is, somewhere at the last moment, and sometimes it's been like one of the greatest takes, they say, oh my gosh, I flubbed that. Or they don't finish, they don't just end it and then give it the beat. And then editing sucks later on because I'm like, but that was the best performance. You thought in your brain that was horrible, but it was your best performance. Yeah. So I think one of the best things to do is honestly, half the time you don't see it with the garbage that goes on in your brain. And sometimes, like I said before, sometimes it can add layers and colors, especially on camera, when a camera is so close and it has so much to do about like what's going on in your eyes and what's going on in your head, you know, that sometimes that layer of anxiety, what you feel in your brain is anxiety, is actually coming off in a different way or a different light. And sometimes that light can actually add a layer or color to your performance, which actually can enhance it because of the way that people see it. So that's specifically, especially with camera, because the work is so minute, you know, and I've even had takes where I've done auditions, where I've self-taped auditions, and I looked at them later on, and maybe there was something going on in my brain at one point or time, and like, as an actor, you don't really want that to happen. However, I looked at the performance later, somebody else looked at it and they're like, that's so interesting. And I was like, that's interesting. Like, I can tell you what was going on there and it wasn't so interesting. It didn't feel good to me. But that's just to say that you shouldn't judge, you know, your performance. And much of the time, what you think you're portraying or conveying is not what's happening. You don't see the outside. There's like 2 layers of your performance, right? There's what you're feeling and what you think you're projecting and what's going on the inside. But then there's that whole other level of what the other, which is the whole point, what the audience is seeing and receiving. And it can be entirely different. So do not judge. That's basically what I'm saying. And people, it might not come across as anxiety is the bottom line. So I hope that answers your question and that wasn't too like long-winded. But.
No, it was great. And I'm going to piggyback off of that before I get your feedback, Carolyn. Like, I was listening to a talk and they were saying how, for example, I don't know if it's The Godfather, it's one of those legendary movies, but there's an actor who was, you know, so nervous of, you know, about the opportunity to act with these like big legends in The Godfather that he couldn't, quotation mark, get it together. And he was so nervous, but the director used that and kind of, you know, had a vision to as for how to replay the scene to work in his nervousness. And I can't, again, I haven't, and I know people are like, what, you haven't seen The Godfather? But people who have seen that scene, they're like, no way, that worked perfectly. So sometimes, as you said, Christin, it's like you can rework it and use that to your benefit as like, as a creative, whether you are an actor, whether you are a singer, you know what I mean? Convert that and use that emotion and use that energy, to just like amplify your performance. Carolyn, what are your thoughts? And you let me know if you want me to restate the question again.
Actually, I wrote it down. Is your anxiety visible?
Mm-hmm.
And so I have two answers to that. One is lots of times when you're performing and you don't think it's so great, but you continue as forthrightly as well as you can. When you come off stage, people say, well, that was amazing. That was wonderful. Anyway, and you say, oh, but I don't see how it could have been, and so on. Well, the thing was, they were saying it wasn't your perfect version that I've seen of you. It wasn't at your highest, but your par is so good that people don't know that there's a problem.
Yeah.
And secondly, particularly in music, when you're singing along and you feel that you didn't do so well because something was out of sync. Here you were performing and you were doing things that you hadn't expected and so on, and you thought, well, you were kind of feeling out of control. But that was the wonderful thing, because then what that did was let you bloom into the music, and the universe was just speaking right through you, as opposed to your own human limiting ideas. So that's that.
That's beautiful. I'm going to jump in with, I go back to this. I had a performance at a coffee shop, and it was basically these two gentlemen ran a coffee shop where it was specifically artist related, where they would, in advance advertise that this artist is performing. And so they'd have like the pastries, the dainties, the coffee, the beverages, but people would pay specifically and fill up the seats to come, see the artist perform. So it was awesome. It was great. People were there to hear you. And so it was one of those performances where the songs that I had rehearsed and had I knew how they're supposed to sound. I just felt like they weren't coming out the way, they should. And I was just all like dialogue in my head, just like, oh, this, that. But I was like, be professional, keep singing. The funny thing, would you believe, my heart was in my boots. My heart was in my feet. And I was just like, I didn't give these people my best. People came up to me. They're like, that was magical. And I was like, inside, I was like, what? You know what I mean? Because I was thinking, how, right? But it's funny how we need to, at the end of the day, as performers, just finish it and give our best. Because sometimes what we think may not be amazing, the audience is like, wow, we were just stunned. And it's like, okay, right? But what I was going to say about, do we think that anxiety can be visible to others? I think it's a yes and a no. Most of the times, no. A lot of times when our maybe left or right knee is shaking like crazy, or our hand is shaking, we may not, like other people may not be able to see that, right? And you just plow through it and go on and keep going. There have been times where from the audience, I've seen somebody's leg shaking or their arms, right? But then being a performer too, I get it, because I've definitely been in that situation where, it's a venue that I'm just so excited to perform at. It's something completely different. And I'm on the stage and all of a sudden it's like, or I'm just at the piano, just ready to perform in my hand. I'm like, oh, what is going on? Right. So sometimes people can see it, sometimes people can't, but either way, you just do what you got to do. And a lot of times people want from the audience, they just want you to just nail it and have a good time. Because I know that, and we're human, and I think they relate with the fact that everybody's got nerves. It's normal. But at the end of the day, nerves or not, everybody wants you to just like have a great time and do great, because they feel it. If you're having a great time and bringing positive energy to them, they feed off of it and they bounce positive back onto you, right? So if you're nervous, people aren't there to like laugh at you. In fact, I know when I've been in the audience and seen comedians or seen actors or other singers, and I can sense that they're going through a tough time or an awkward time, or I start to like get nervous for them or get awkward because I'm like, oh my, you know, like I feel that like, oh my gosh, I hope they get through this, right? But but when it's the opposite and someone is just like, okay, we're in this together. It's been a tough day, or I'm nervous, but let's support each other. And you do, and it's successful in the end. It's like high five. So even whether or not that anxiety is visible or not, people at the end of the day want for you to just ace it. So it's okay if it is visible, you know, just do what you got to do and have a blast and get through it. And it just gets better. Okay. So I'm looking at the time, and I believe we have time for one more, possibly two more questions. So the next question I'm going to throw at you, Christin, is, let's see. This is an interesting question. When you have performance anxiety, what are you typically thinking about?
Okay. So when I have performance anxiety, which normally happens for two reasons. Okay. Especially now, because I've been performing for a long time. So there are only a couple of things that'll give me a little bit of a, So number one is if I wrote it. If it's something that I wrote, that will give me a little bit of anxiety. For stage. With film, it's a little different because, like I said, you're in the moment, and then you put it on the screen, or you stream it somewhere, and then you kind of just like, then you have the anxiety, but you already did it, so it's a little different. It's a little different. But when you're on stage, and like when I wrote my one-woman show, my Mother Teresa project, Person to Person Mother Teresa project, I remember the first time I performed it, and when I wrote my two-woman show, that stage play, it's hard because, sometimes what you think in your head is going to be funny or is going to be received a certain way, you don't really know how it's really going to be received until you have that first like preview audience. And and like I said, I can remember that would give me some anxiety because it's the, if someone else wrote it, I can say, well, they wrote it, that's their responsibility. So I'm going to trust that whatever they wrote as a professional is like, exactly what's going to work. But when it's something that I wrote and I am a professional. I'm not going to say that I'm not, but what I think is funny or what it's going to, I don't know for sure. That's the truth of the matter. I don't know. Even right now, you could be like, she's laughing at herself, but she's not funny at all. I don't understand why she's laughing and having such a great time. No, but seriously, we don't really know, when you don't really know how you're going to be received. And like I said, when it came out of your head, there's just a little more of a risk. And when I have that kind of risk, it gives me a little more something going on. And then the other thing that I can get a little bit anxious about is when I have film, TV, and commercial auditions that I got extremely quick. And for some reason, and I've like, guys, the truth of the matter is I've been memorizing for a long time. Like I have, and I get things at the last minute. And what typically happens, especially when I'm self-taping, there's this part of me that's like, I don't know if the words are going to be there. And then as soon as I start doing it, of course, I've got it memorized. Of course, it's not a big deal, but I don't know what that is. But there's something like in me that's like, I got this at the last minute. Am I really going to have it memorized? And I don't know why I don't trust myself. So like, I don't know why I don't trust myself. So that's like, that's number two. And then, like I said, that layer of like just having to because you want the job so much sometimes, and it's just so hard that lack of control. So those are the things that give me a little bit of whoo. So yeah.
That is so cool. And Christin, seriously, every time you speak, there's something I can connect with. Like, it's just, and it's different. I love hearing about like, they're both creative spheres, but they're different. Like I love hearing about the acting, film, TV world, because yes, it is creative, just like music, but it's slightly, it's like the cousin or the sibling, right? And for music, the similarity is that like the vulnerability of writing your own song. Like obviously when you perform a cover song, you want to, if you're going to do an Adele song or Beyonce or Madonna or whatever, right? Or Sinatra or whatever, you want to like nail it or do it just as well as them, or even create your own version of it, but still be right. But when it's your own, and that in and of itself, you want to do well, period. But when it's your own song that you've created and you're like, is it gonna be good? Like, are people gonna are they gonna be like, yeah, don't write him, right? So I just, I get that vulnerability of putting your own stuff. It's like your own creation, your own baby out into the world and be like, do you guys like it or not? Is this something viable that will touch people, that can go somewhere? So that definitely resounded with me. Carolyn, what are your thoughts? Like, what are you?
Well,
do you want me to
thinking about when I'm anxious, or what are people thinking about when they're having anxiety? And you mentioned probably the most important word for this area, and that is vulnerability. Because when the spotlight is on us, again, because of our culture, we're feeling judged. And so that's a lot of it is you're thinking, what are they thinking about me? Or even more, what are they thinking about my material that I'm presenting? I remember a time when I was performing The Telephone by Menotti, and which I just didn't have enough time to get it solidly memorized. So what I was thinking about during the performance in my anxiety was I figured out where I was going to, the blocking, so that when I went to one place, I knew, okay, now I start this section of the piece, and then I start this. So that was really helpful. And then there was another time I was anxious in the last act of La Boheme, when I got pulled in because they had lost somebody else and I had to jump in and do it. And and I couldn't remember when I was supposed to be saying something about, oh, is this my muff or something? And I asked the Mosette to help me and give me a cue, but she didn't do it. But I remembered it anyway. But so it's, to me, it wasn't so much beforehand as things that are happening during.
Yeah.
So it's how do I handle this, and what if it goes wrong, and you want to honor what you've got, particularly when you're doing the work of geniuses. You really want to partner them instead of sounding like an excuse for singing or whatever.
Wow, well said, Carolyn. Well said. And last, like part B to what you just said. So how does an artist, and when I say artist, I mean the umbrella of performer of any type, whether it be actor, comedian, singer, how would you say they ensure they get themselves to the point where it's like they know that they can carry through with finesse and with excellence that work, in the spotlight? Because let's be real, you know what I mean? Like you have to roll with the punches. It's not always going to be perfect. You're going to be thrown on the spot, or, you know what I mean? Asked to, like, maybe script will get changed, you know what I mean? Or maybe, I don't know, maybe musicians or some singers that you need may not show up, you name it. So what is the best way to still like carry on well, not necessarily worry about beforehand, but do it in the process? If that question makes sense, because there's a lot in there. Are you still there, Carolyn?
Yeah, I'm still there. I'm trying to figure out exactly what the question is.
Oh yeah, there's a lot in there. Okay, so you said the most important part is not necessarily beforehand, but carrying through the work of geniuses and doing it well. So I'm going to, I gave you a lot in there. So I guess I'll do a Cliff Notes version of that. What is your suggestion or your advice to performers of any type of how to ensure that they can, no matter what anxiety or factors change, that they can ensure that they can bring their best and carry through in the moment, versus beforehand, but as, carry through the finesse of, the results of what the geniuses have created for them to carry through?
I would say you just have to learn to go with your gut.
Yes.
And if that's what comes to you, and you let your intuition take you where to get over that bridge of whatever it is that's so tricky. That's my answer.
Well, Carolyn, that's a pretty strong way to end this. Just on time. Yeah, that's a beautiful way to end this. Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much. Did you guys want to end off with mentioning where anybody can find any of your performances, your music, your things that you've written, productions that you're planning to put out into the world? Please do mention to those who are listening.
Well, I would like to say that since my self-introduction was so jabberwocky, that the latest thing that I'm doing, I'm pretty much over with the joy of performing, and now I have the thrill of coaching. And I am coaching people in finding their speaking voice. So I help them find their best resonance, and I help them be prepared and to, as I say, why merely talk in black and white when you can speak in Technicolor? So I help them juice it up. And my name, CarolynVal-Schmidt.com, is the best way to get me for my website and my singing and my teaching ideas and my background.
Wonderful.
Nice.
Ladies and gentlemen, you caught that. You need to check into Carolyn. She'll bring your game right on up. And Christin, tell everybody how that they can connect with you.
Yes, and I just wanted to let everyone know that I just put Carolyn's information in the chat. I'm going to do the same thing for mine, and I'll do the same thing for Flo, so that later on you don't have to be like, what was it that she said? As long as I spelt it okay. It looks like I did because her website just popped up. Looks like we're good. Okay, so for me, please follow me, like me, and my comedy partner at Unexpected Crowns. That's our handle on IG, on Instagram, at Unexpected Crowns. It's all one word. So please follow us there. And then on Facebook as well, we are continuously we do sketches every single week, and we're putting them up on there. And I am currently launching a new woman show that's a fusion of sketch comedy and talk. So it's like a woman's SNL meets The Real. That's what it is. So right now we have 2 episodes that are up on our Unexpected Crowns page, but eventually they'll probably grow and have their own page. And we have another show coming up, which will be live on March 13th, Saturday, March 13th. Right now, like I said, we're streaming it on our Unexpected Crowns Facebook page. We put clips of it on Instagram, and then we're also putting the whole show up on YouTube right now. And I have big dreams and goals for that. So follow there. And then I also have a website, www.p2, as in the number 2, P theater, spelt the fancy way, RE.com. Okay. There we go.
I love it. You two
Oh.
so talented. I love it. It's such an honor to be on a panel with you guys. So for myself, very quick and short and sweet. So you can find me on Instagram at FlowSoul. So one word, FLOSOUL, FlowSoul, no W. Again, one word. People always mix that up. FLOSOUL on Instagram and Twitter. Same thing, same handle at FlowSoul. Or you can find me on Facebook. Flo.long last name, ORAMA. So really, if you just put Flo.ORAMA, my name, it's a long last name. You can't miss it. It's going to just pop up. So just put Flo.ORAMA and the rest. Connect with me. Pop by, say hi on Facebook or Instagram. Would love to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to this panel. We had a blast. We hope you guys did too. And keep checking it out. Betsy always has some new guests, new topics. It's always so much fun. We look forward to seeing you again in the future. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday, you guys. Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. Okay.
Bye.